Hello everyone, welcome back for another video. So I get asked a lot of questions about saws. As you can see on the back wall here, I've got a lot of saws. I've got saws down here, I've got saws here, there's saws everywhere. There does seem to be a lot of confusion, and there also tends to be a lot of bias, myself included. I am biased to the Japanese style. So this is a Ryoba saw. I'm very biased to this. The reason I'm very biased to this is that I've used it a lot. I've used all of these saws a lot. For me, for my work, for making bits and bobs of furniture, workbenches and so on and so forth. One of these guys, in my opinion, is the better option for me anyway. So I kind of say, for me, this is the best saw for me, but that's not the be all end all. I am going to go over a few saws, give my opinion on them. This might be helpful for some of the beginners or some of the people that are getting more into the hand tools. The most recognisable saw will probably be one of these guys. This is a traditional Western style saw, very predominant in the United States, the UK, and some parts of Europe. Very, very predominant. This is a rip saw. You can tell it's a rip saw because of the teeth. If you can see the teeth are quite large. This particular saw is 4 teeth per inch, I believe, so it is quite aggressive. It could probably do with a little bit of a sharpen. I don't tend to use it a great deal, although occasionally I do use it. It is a good saw, but I do believe that there is more efficient saws. This is another Western style saw. This is a panel saw. So again, if you can see on the camera, the teeth are slightly smaller. This particular saw, cross cutting, you will get away with some rip cutting as well. Again, it is a good saw, but again, I do believe there is better saws. I mean, they are tried and tested. Both of these saws are tried and tested. You know, they've been getting used for 100+ years. Nothing wrong with them, but same again, I just think there is more efficient saws. This is another typical Western saw. Again, very, very common in the States, UK, parts of Europe. So this particular one, this is a dovetailing saw. It is quite good. I bought this a number of years ago. I do like the handle fits well in my hand. So if you are going to go out and buy one of these saws, what I would recommend, if you are able to have a go with the saw, you know, try the handle out. This particular saw, or rather the handle, is a very good fit for my hand. So I've only got small hands where, you know, there's some guys that have got really, really big hands, and this probably wouldn't be comfortable for someone with bigger hands. So when you are getting one of these saws, I would definitely recommend you try the saw out before you buy, if at all possible. When I'm clasping this saw, you guys obviously can't feel and see very well, but this is extremely well fitting around this section of my hand. It feels very natural, it feels very comfortable. Same here, it's just the right size for me, for my 3 fingers that are going to be fitting into that. I'm very lucky with this saw. Ironically, I don't tend to use it a great deal. But if you are in the business of getting one of these saws, I would definitely make sure that the handle is a good fit. It's not the be all end all. Obviously, you know, you want good steel and you want it sharpened correctly, or be able to sharpen it correctly. So typically and historically, when these types of saws are being used, it will be on some sort of a low bench, either a sawhorse or, you know, a Roman workbench like this. So typically how it was used and how it does get used, we are kneeling on the piece. This is very, very common. This is how it was done hundreds of years ago. People, including myself today, tend to use a bit more clamping or hold fast, etc. But a lot of the time, you know, just your own way, it's good. So the thing with these, as you can see, these can be really quick, but they can also be pretty tiring. And as I said, as quick as that looked, there is actually saws that can be a little bit quicker than that, believe it or not. It's the same sort of thing with the panel saw or the crosscut saw. So we do apply, we wait with the knee again. So yeah, they are pretty quick. They is quicker though. Something to note here for the beginners is that this first finger is used to help balance. If you see someone using a saw like that, it's probably because they don't know how to use the saw, and there's less control with the saw this way than using it this way. So if you do see them using it that way, it's not the correct way to use it. You do get more control using your first finger to control the saw. These types of Western style dovetail saws, you will normally see these being used at a tall bench and not a low bench. But for the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to show you this on the low bench. So typically these are used in a vertical position, which means I would have a section of timber in a vise usually. And if I were cutting dovetails, and that's how that saw would be used, as I said, in a vertical position. This would more likely be somewhere around the solar plex area. More recently, I have started using these guys. So this is a frame saw. This, for me, is one of the more awkward saws to use. I've had major learning curves with these, the balance and everything. So for those of you that aren't in the know, how do these work? So basically you have a blade and you have the frame. So basically you have a tensioner at the top. So this particular tensioner is a steel rod, and it just gets tightened with a butterfly nut at the top. So once this is tensioned up, it's very difficult for this saw to buckle and such. Whereas if we were using one of these guys, if we push a little bit too hard and, you know, maybe the grain grabs the saw teeth, it can actually kink. I'm pretty sure everyone that's used one of these saws has had it happen to them, or even maybe the wood itself has just been binding onto the saw blade, so that can, you know, potentially put a kink into the blade. When you're using one of these saws, it doesn't tend to happen simply because there's tension and the saw can't buckle. It's the same sort of thing with a Resour saw. So the Resour saw, it does have tension when you're pulling. So again, for those of you that don't know, when you're actually using one of these to cut, you're actually creating tension because the cut stroke actually is on the pull stroke. So when you're actually pulling and it's making contact with the fibers in the wood, it's actually creating tension on itself. So one of the issues with these saws, especially for beginners, is that when you're pushing it back into the saw cut, you know, to actually make the pull cut, when you're pushing it back in, it can actually kink and it can bend. So these are really, really thin. It is very easy to put kinks into these, especially when you're first using them. So this is another type of frame saw, and this is tensioned just by some string. When you turn the string once and then twice, you see now I can feel the tension there starting to get quite a lot of tension, and it basically just hooks itself onto the other side of the middle beam. and it's the same again. There's tension here, which pulls itself together and in turn pulls this side and that side out, creating tension on the saw blade. So again, these types of saws are really quick. They've got a lot of potential. That's why I started using these. However, there has, for me at least, been a massive learning curve. I am starting to get a little bit better. My cuts are starting to become more square, but there is still a learning curve there. Here's another example of a frame saw. This is a coping saw. This is one I built quite some time ago. It's okay, it's not the best, certainly not the worst. And same again, you know, it's just tension with some string at the top. These are quite good. Again, for me at least, there's a bit of a learning curve. I find all these frame saws pretty difficult to keep on track, keep on line. But as I said, I am learning. This is another frame saw I've just made, and this does differ from the others in the way that it's tensioned. Basically at the top there is a wedge, and once this wedge is actually hit down, it tensions the blade. So I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but there is some flex in that. So basically, so you should have been able to hear that tension up there. And basically this saw gets used like so, and its sole purpose and the reason that I built this saw is for resawing. So some of you might have seen the Resour style. This is not the Resour style. It is very similar. This has got a bit of a Japanese feel to it. This is probably more modelled on a Roman type of resaw. I've just recently used it to resaw some 4.5 inch steamed oak. Very tiring work, but I think any of the saws that I've got here, I don't think any of them would have got it done any quicker. Something I forgot to mention about these is that they have been used for hundreds of years, probably a couple of thousand years, because they were used in Roman times, although they probably would have looked a little bit different than this saw. They have kind of become a little bit obscure in the UK. You don't tend to see, or at least I don't tend to see a lot of them. I don't tend to see a lot of people using them either. When I was trying to find out, you know, how to use these types of saws, there's not a lot of information. Apparently there is some good videos in German, but I struggle to read the subtitles and also take in, you know, visually what the guy's doing. I have watched these videos a couple of times and I have picked up a few things, and there has been quite a number of people that have pointed us in the right direction. One of the things that I got wrong from day one was that when I was handling the saw, I was trying to use it as a traditional Western style saw. So I was using my first finger to, you know, try and control it. And when I'm holding it like that, there's quite a lot of strain on my wrist. So I was informed, I can't remember who informed me, but somebody informed me that your wrist should be making contact with the bottom of the handle, or the top of the handle rather, and that gives you a lot more control. And even just by me doing that, I'm taking the strain off the wrist and I'm putting it more onto the elbow. What I can actually feel when I'm holding it like this, I can actually feel the activation of me lat muscles. So the lat muscles are quite a big muscle group. You know, I'd rather have the strain going onto my lat muscles rather than my wrist bone or the structure of my wrist. So, and you do actually get a lot more control with one of these things. I might look like an idiot swinging this around, but I'm just trying to show you what sort of control you get compared to, you know, compared to that. I'm going to give you a demonstration with the frame saws, and hopefully you can see what I can see with the potential. And these can be really easy to use in that they don't fatigue you very quickly, where other saws can. Normally I would be standing, but again, just because there's a piece of wood in the room and workbench, I'm going to use it. Obviously I haven't followed a line there, but I just wanted to emphasize how quick they can be. Same again with this saw. This saw has a Japanese style saw in it. This is just a rip saw. This is, you know, I built the saw predominantly for resawing, but we'll see how it goes. So this is why I am pursuing this style of saw. I'm pretty sure everyone can see the potential. This is where the video is probably going to start turning a little bit biased, but stay with us, stay with us. There is good reason for us being biased to these types of saws. This is my favourite saw. It is a Resour saw. It is a Japanese saw, obviously. So it cuts on the pull stroke rather than the push stroke like a Western style saw. On one side of the saw plate it has a cross cut section, on the other side is a rip cut section. The kerf itself is, it's pretty thin. You know, there is a lot of flexibility in it, as you can see. This is a disposable saw. All of my Japanese saws are disposable saws. There is different sizes of the Resour saw, so I do have two different styles of blades. There is numerous styles of blades. So this blade here, I believe, is more geared towards carpentry work. The teeth are slightly finer on the crosscut section. These are really good for doing smaller rips, smaller cross cuts, although they can handle the bigger ripping and cross cutting sections. It just depends of what your physical health's like. Me personally, I've got issues with my back, so I do have to be careful when I'm using these for extended periods of time. This is one of the bigger Resour saws. I do believe you can actually get bigger than this. I haven't used one and I haven't seen one, but I do believe you can get bigger ones. So this is sold as a Resour saw. This is my first Resour saw that I ever bought. This cut my workload down by about, I can't quite remember, I think it was somewhere in the region of half an hour, maybe 45 minutes. It chopped my workload down. The teeth on the ripping section, these are quite aggressive. These are a lot bigger than the teeth on this smaller Resour saw. As you can see, there is a big difference. This particular saw, and even this saw blade, I did actually use it to build this workshop I'm in at the moment, a work shed if you like. Very good bit of kit. It cut all of the 2x7s, 6s, 2x6s for the roof, for the floor. It cut all of the 2x3s for all the framework, and it did actually cut some of the sheet material, the OBS for the floor and for the roof. Another style of Japanese saws which I do favour is the dovetail saws. So these are, as a sound, specifically for dovetailing. You can actually use these for small tenants and things like that. So the difference with these is that they actually have a spline and they only have teeth on one side, obviously because there's a spline on this side. With these saws, but not all of the saws, they do have a little screw. You screw it out and these just pull out like so. Obviously you get a new blade once this one's used. So these blades, they're so thin and so fine. I have actually damaged a couple of these just to show you how, you know, they're very thin, and that's why they work so well. When you're cutting your dovetails, you get such a fine curve. Really good. These are my favourite type of saw for cutting dovetails. This saw is pretty much the same as the other saw, other than the fact that it's just shaped a little bit differently. Again, you know, as you can see, this is very flexible. It's very thin. You get a really good curve for one of these. When I started using these types of saws, my dovetailing just went through the roof. You know, the finish on them was pristine. I highly recommend, if you're able to and you're willing to learn to use these types of saws, go out and get one of these saws. This does have a rattan handle. Notably, these types of handles, this is a, I forget the name of these, this is like a TPE. The grip on these is a lot better. I don't particularly like the look of these because they are like kind of like a plastic. I'm not fond of plastic. I do like the rattan style look better, but practically grip wise, these guys are a lot better. Which saw is the best then? I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments. Don't be shy. For me, it's definitely this guy. For a hand saw, I'm not talking about electric saws, I'm talking about for hand saws. For hand saws, for me at least, this is the best saw, hands down. Everything all of my other saws can do, this one saw can do to a degree. Some things it does better, some things it doesn't do quite as well, but it can pretty much do everything. This will cross cut, this will rip cut, this will cut circles, believe it or not. It will cut arcs, bends. You will be able to cut joints with this, dovetails with this to a degree. You'll still get really good results with this. This is a good all-rounder. I'm very, very biased to this type of saw. Again, the reason I'm biased is because I've got a lot of experience using this saw. I've got a lot of experience using a Western style saw, and I am starting to gain some experience with the frame saws. This might change, but I don't see it happening. The versatility of one of these saws, it's just unreal. But not to leave this guy out, because I've demonstrated with the frame saw and with the other Western style saws, I am going to give a quick demonstration of this guy. For anyone that is interested, there is actually a couple of videos of me demonstrating how to use these types of saws, cutting some arcs, straight cuts, rip cuts, so on and so forth. So there you go. You know, these are really, really good saws. If you're not using one of these saws, I would highly recommend you at least give it a shot. Honestly, I don't think you'll be disappointed as long as you get a good saw. This is a Gyoko. I'm not associated with these guys. I just like the saws. They make good quality saws. I have tried other brands. I'm not going to name them other brands, but I don't think they're up to much with Gyoko. Kind of follow them, really good. Guys, don't forget, if you like what you've seen and you want to support the channel, you know what to do. Also, as I said before, I'd really, really like to hear your comments about what you think about the saws. What's your best saw and why do you favour it? Until the next time, I shall see and speak to you guys later.